Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. All right. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and we believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young woman's life. Therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and to give our love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share. Share us on all of your social media pages. Follow us on all of our social media pages and also at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And also make sure you guys subscribe to our new podcast, our new YouTube channel, which we are now turning our YouTube channel into a YouTube podcasting network. So it is now the Deal to Heal podcasting network on YouTube, and there you can find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. You can also find the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. You can find the Earn and Herb podcast there, and you also can find the Faith Walk and Love Talk podcast, all there on the new YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal podcasting network. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Also, make sure that you guys stay into the end of the podcast, because I'm going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. But you got to stay into the end of the episode in order to get that information. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Mr. Darius. How you doing today, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
No problem, man. So first of all, I want to say thank you for being on, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with us, and we definitely appreciate it. So do me a favor, we're going to jump right in. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Yes, so my name is Darius Fennell. I'm a proud dad and mental health advocate. My full-time job, I'm an engineer for a major internet company. I'm also an entrepreneur and just started this year officially with my business called Beyond Anxiety, where again, it's all about mental health advocacy and helping people get the help that they need and advocate for their own mental health. So
All right, all right. And also, guys, Darius was also on our partner podcast, The Deal to Heal with
yeah,
E. James podcast, where we talked about mental health. So make sure you guys go over there to The Deal to Heal with E. James podcast and check out Darius's episode. But today on this podcast, we talking all about daughters. So my first question I want to ask you is, what is your daughter's name and how old is she?
her
Or
name is.
if it's multiple.
What was the last thing you said?
I said, what's your daughter's name
Uh,
and what is her age?
okay, so her name is Nicole, and she's 12 years old.
All right, all right. Okay, so my first question I want to ask you, Darius, is what does it mean to you to be a girl dad?
Man, listen, this having a daughter. So I have 4 kids. My daughter is the third child out of 4, and she was an absolute like shift from the beginning. And I'll go all the way back to the day, I guess it was around 20 weeks is when you can get your ultrasound to find out what the gender is. And this was our 3rd time, so it wasn't like a whole brand new experience. But you don't know until they tell you if that's what you decide. Because for our second one, we said, nah, we want to wait until is born, and then we'll find out. But the third one, I said, nah, I want to know this time. That was crazy waiting the whole 9 months, not knowing what to buy and buying all these neutral colors and stuff, right?
Right.
So we get in there, they go over, and obviously it's like, yep, you have a girl, and something in me just like, it was just like I don't know what it was. We got in the parking lot. My wife and I drove separate that day, and we were just about to leave, and I just started crying. She's like, "You okay?" I was like, "I don't know." But something about knowing that this was going to be my daughter just touched my heart differently. I think with the boys, I was more hyped, like, yeah, let's do this. You know what I mean? I think about all the guy things you're going to do with your son, and just, all the stuff you did with your father, and, just amped. It just had energy. But this one was more of a softer, like loving, just like intense love for a person I hadn't met yet. And the only way I could express it was through tears.
Yeah.
And so, gosh, I would even say, even with my wife's pregnancy, I was a lot more emotional during the full term than with the other 2 boys. And I was like, wow, like, notice I was a little more like things affected me differently. Or I'm watching a movie, I'm like, what's going on? Normally, obviously, your wife is going to gain weight because she's growing a baby inside of her. But this was the only one that I actually gained weight with her. So to answer that question, like it was an entire shift. It affected my entire, being, my emotions, my way of thinking. Just when she was born, just holding her compared to holding the other boys, it's a lot different. It touched me differently. So and just getting in touch with the softer side of yourself, which is, I think, as men, we don't do enough of because of maybe how the previous generation said that we're supposed to be, or just culturally how you're not supposed to show any softness or tenderness. But as I've also been in therapy for the last 6 years, there's no healing without those parts.
Right.
And so really, she kind of helped me on that road to getting in touch with parts of myself that otherwise, I kind of accepted society or culture's, way of saying this is how you're supposed to be a man, but your daughter and your wife has a way of balancing that and helping to soften that up for you. So.
Yeah. So you answered a couple of my questions that I was going to follow up, but it's cool because I'm listening to you and I just connect so much on some of the things that you said. Right now, my daughter just made 21, so I'm way on the other side of the field. But I remember as you was talking, like when you said you cried, I already knew you was going to say cried. You know what I'm saying? It's like I already knew I was going to say it with you, and I was like, nah, I'll just let you say it. But I already knew what you were going to say, and I think that it's just that thing. Like when you have sons, again, you have that it's more like a camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this gonna be like my little homie, and,
Yep.
and we about to ride out.
Yeah.
But when you have a daughter, it's a different thing. It's kind of like what comes to your mind is the responsibility that you have now. Not that it was less responsibility with your sons, but it's a different responsibility. It's an added responsibility, that comes with it, and it definitely changes you just the in the mindset of knowing that you're going to have a daughter.
Yeah.
And I definitely went through that. I went through a couple of the same things that you went through. So when my daughter was born, so my daughter is my only biological child,
Okay.
right? So when she was born, her mother didn't gain any weight. She was all stomach. Right, she was all stomach, and after my daughter was born, stomach went down. She was fine. I gained all the weight, right? So my daughter's 21. I still look like I'm pregnant, right? I never lost it. So I gained all the way from when my daughter was born. And so I definitely connected with that. And then even the emotional side, after my daughter being born, definitely, watching movies and things like just other things. It's just like you're so in touch with that part of you now, because the fact that you have a daughter brings it to the forefront.
Yeah.
So again, being raised in the generations before us and being raised, be a man up, don't cry, all of that stuff. So we kind of push the emotions to the back.
Yeah.
But once you have a daughter, it forces those emotions to come to the front, right? And so now you're experiencing, emotions that you really never really, you maybe experienced, but because you had pushed it back so long, it's like, you see a movie, it's like, I ain't crying over no movie, the next thing you know, you're crying that Beauty and the Beast. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's going on? What's happening to me? But it changes you. You know what I mean? And you change it to a different person. And I always say that our daughters bring out the best parts of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like there's parts of and I always give this example. You can tell me if you know it to be true, because you have sons and a daughter, that when you have your sons, you kind of like, I'm gonna make them just like me. Like they're gonna be like a mini me. I'm gonna put all of me into them. And sometimes that's the good and the bad. But when you have your daughter, it's like, okay, I'm only giving her the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like your mind is like, no, I'm not giving her no bad habits. I'm not, all of those things. So she kind of gets the best parts of you, right? And then that's kind of how I process and in my experience. Now I've only had stepsons, so I don't have any biological sons. So I even though I helped raise my sons, I didn't birth them, but I still have that same mindset. Like I'm going to give them, these parts of me, but more intentional with my daughter is like, okay, I'm only going to give her the best parts of me, or try to instill in her the best parts of me.
Interesting. Yeah. Here's I guess another dynamic that kind of goes into that is I didn't have any sisters. And my cousins, my lady cousins were a lot older than me. So this was it's so much uncharted territory in that regard, where my wife kind of had to help me with. I thought I could do the same stuff I was doing with my sons with her in the beginning. Here's one example, just like a tone that I would use if I was doing correction. Right, my wife came to me. I think the first time I'd said something, my daughter just started crying. I'm like, she said, "You can't talk to her the way you talk to the boys." But I didn't know that, because all I've known is I'm one of three boys. I'm the youngest. And like I said, most of my lady cousins were so much older. I didn't have that kind of dynamic of having someone younger than me and knowing how to interact with them, So I was like, everybody's getting all the same thing. You know, rather than
Right.
say, "Okay, my boys this and my daughter that," it was, "Nah, y'all all getting the same stuff." And I
Right.
realized right away that that wasn't the right approach. But that's why your spouse can help point that out to you
Right.
gently and say, "You probably want to find another way." So, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, all right, yep, all right, we'll go with that." Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a little blessed on that side because I have five sisters. So
Ah,
I was I know all about the ins and outs
yeah.
and how to talk to each other and things like that. But I want to go back a little bit and
Mhm,
even just talk about as a baby, just as a newborn, and especially as having two sons first, right?
mhm.
And then now you bring home this baby girl, right? So what was that experience like, just like as a toddler and bringing home this little baby girl, and how did that affect you even as being a father? And then what is even some of the contrast of having to bring home two boys, especially the second one, because the first one is always like, oh yeah, because it's the first one. Then
Yeah,
the second one's kind of
yeah,
like, yeah, we've been here before. You
yep,
know what
yep,
I'm
yep,
saying?
yep.
But now the third one is a whole new thing because it's like, all right, now we got this baby girl. Now this whole thing is new. So how was that experience with you just having a newborn baby girl?
You know what? I went out to consignment shops and went and bought all these different outfits. I got maybe one or two for the boys. You know, like I get one cool one, maybe the colors match what I had. I think I came home with about 7 or 8 different outfits. You know, or sometimes just after work, I would like go to a store and see what can I buy today. One of them we actually kept because it's my favorite. Um, but it just your thought pattern of the different types of ways you want to give to them and provide and express love is different for her. You know, the boys, I wanted to get them a bunch of different toys and different stuff like that. For her, I wanted her to just look, pretty, all the time. Like anytime she's going somewhere, you got a different outfit from daddy, and I can say, that's my outfit. Look how pretty my daughter is. Um, Even just how we interacted in terms of eye contact, I noticed is different from the boys. Daughter was a lot more attentive, especially to my eyes and to my tone. So I had to be mindful of that. Even if I wasn't talking to her, if would get a sense that daddy's uneasy, I could definitely tell it made her feel uneasy. Like, okay, why does his voice sound like that? You know. Um, but yeah, just with the boys, it was I couldn't wait until like they got the neck muscles in place so I could start to rough them up, a
Yeah,
little bit. You don't want to hurt them, right? So it was like, all right, you kind of progressively do things and kind of have fun with them and let them jump on you. Well, God forbid, like my oldest need me in my eye while I was asleep. So you don't want to get that rough. But
right.
but there's certain things where, with her, I just kind of want to hold her and look at her more. And I probably sang more songs to her than I did the boys. And some of these songs you just make up. Like someone will come
Yeah,
from a video game and you change the words around and do something to make them laugh. So they brought different parts of silliness out of me, and she had her own little, subset. And then when she got old enough to be able to sit in a chair, we would have tea parties.
yeah,
know, where I didn't necessarily do that with the boys. Obviously, maybe we go outside and throw a tennis ball or football or something like that. Where my daughter and me would sit and what was our names? Frederick and Gretchen, right? And every time we would make real tea, right? And every
right.
time you took a sip of the tea, you had to say exquisite for no reason. It was a fancy word that you would just say. You'd be talking about anything like the day or how nice to look outside. But if you took a sip, you had to stop and say exquisite. And that was our thing. So
That's
fun
cool. That's
stuff, man,
cool.
fun stuff. But
Yeah.
now
You
go ahead.
you just brought back to my memory because I had a song for my daughter too that
Okay.
I sung for her when she was little, and man, I forgot all about this, and I just
Yeah.
since you just said it,
Yeah.
I actually sung it for my granddaughters.
Oh
When my
wow.
granddaughters, were still small. You know,
Okay.
But I forgot all about that, man. But yeah, but you go through those changes. You have those special moments. I just recently, so I'm a speaker too, and so
Okay.
just recently, not too long ago, I actually spoke at a school for a daddy daughter tea party. Right,
Nice.
so we did a daddy daughter tea party at the school, and I was a speaker, and I talked to the dads there, and share a couple of things. One of the things I'm happy that I was able to tell them, was first of all, congratulations, right?
Mhm.
That they actually took the time because this was an after school event,
Yeah.
right? So it's after school. So that means dad's getting off work, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
still taking out the time to be there,
Yeah.
with their daughters. And the turnout was great. And I was really impressed. And that was one of the first things that I told the dads was like, congratulations. Congratulations that you even had the mindset to say, I'm going to be here for my daughter, right? Because one of the questions I'm gonna ask you too,
Mhm.
but one of the questions that I always ask is what is one of your biggest regrets, as a
Mm.
father, even though your daughter's still young.
Yeah.
And when I say regret, I don't necessarily mean like something that you really was like, oh, but it could just be something that, if I could go back, I'll do this different, or maybe I should have tried it a different way. And
Yeah.
the reason why I always shared that, and as I was sharing to the dads that was there, is because my daughter had her daddy daughter dance, and that was something I wanted to do with her. And so she had it, and I was like, oh, that night I'm like, man, I gotta work. So I said, okay, look, I'll miss this one and I'll catch the next one. Right. And so, like I said, my daughter just turned 21 like last weekend. You know what I mean? And
Nice.
there never
Yeah.
was the next one.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so I was congratulating even those dads like for taking out the time, to be there with their daughters, because you don't get those chances back.
No.
Even myself, we done some other things. We had some other dances and dinners and things like that, but it wasn't that one.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that one that bothers me. With everything else that we've done in these 21 years, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that bothers me. It's like, yeah, but I wasn't there for that one. And so just as a dad, and like I said, I know your daughter is still young,
Mhm.
but just thinking about, something that may have happened that you just may have been like, you know what, as a father, maybe I should have did that a different way, or maybe next time I'll try it, something different.
Yeah. Yeah. I try my best not to live with regrets. If I were to point out anything to myself, it's recognizing that your relationship with all your kids, really, but your daughter especially, is going to evolve, and you can't hold them in a time frame, right? Like they're going to get older. There's certain things that they used to enjoy doing with you that it's going to be like, ill, dad. Like, no. And here's an example, right? My daughter used to be like, "Oh, can you just come late with me until I go to sleep, or read me a story or whatever, And sometimes I'm like, man, I don't feel like doing it right now, But it's like, okay, she's hard to say no to. So 95% of the time, I would just sometimes you just had to just sit there, and it didn't
Mhm.
take long. She, would maybe talk, and she's gone, you know. And then one day, you come into the room and she's like, okay, get out. Like, wait a minute. What is this?
What happened to the cuddle? What's going
Right.
on?
I think just respecting that the dynamics of the relationship is going to change, and not taking it, personal. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything I'd done to her or that she was mad at me. It's just it's a different time. I went through that with my parents. There was a time where you stopped jumping in your parents' bed at night because maybe you were scared of monsters or whatever. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what that age would be, but when it happens, like you kind of know it. It's like, okay, they can sleep through the night now. But that first time, it's like,
Yeah. She don't want me around
right.
anymore. Yeah, I definitely understand. Definitely understand.
Yeah.
So, so one of the things I know, that even with our daughters, we're always teaching them, as fathers, that's definitely our job to instill some things in them. But one thing that I also know is that while we're teaching them, they're also teaching us, right?
Yes.
They're also teaching us lessons, and we're learning, things from them just as much as they're learning from us.
Yeah.
So just give us something that, even with your daughter now, just something that she's taught you that, is like, what, I didn't recognize that at first, whatever that thing was.
Mhm.
And some kind of way it's like, oh, okay, I learned something, from her.
Well, that one's pretty easy. I'm an introvert and she's an extrovert, right? And so us introverts sometimes like take life a little too seriously.
Mm.
It's not that serious. you know, she loves to laugh. She loves to sing. She loves to dance. She's very playful. She loves to perform. She's done different dance recitals and stuff like that. But she's always had a natural ability to just like enjoy and have fun in the moment. Right. And I think sometimes when we get older, we have this little check off list in our head of things that we want to get done or where we want to be or goals we want to achieve. And you forget to actually enjoy life along the way.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're around her, she's not gonna let you do that. You know what I mean? So, and it's hard to be around her and not have like fun or be entertained by like we got her one of those Bluetooth microphones. Actually,
Yeah.
one of the grandparents or somebody, I think we had about 3 of them. I think one of them got lost, and another one I think stopped working. But I mean, she would sing into that thing, and just entertain the entire house, sometimes to the annoyance of her older siblings and others say, hey man, we can't hear anything, we're trying to play the game. We're trying to watch the movie. She's like, no, you're gonna watch this movie. You're gonna watch me sing my song, you know?
Right.
And there's times where it's like, you know what? Let me put my stuff aside and pay attention and be present and be in the moment right now. Because number one, it's important to her. And number two, like, look how stressed and tight you are. You need to loosen up a little bit. And she's actually trying to help you to do that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right. All right. So I know I asked you sort of what is one of your biggest regrets, right? So but as a father now, the flip side of that, seeing your daughter and seeing the young woman that she's, becoming now,
mhm,
as a father, we have to take pride where we can, right? So, what
mhm.
would be one of your biggest accomplishments that you think you've made as a father, with your daughter?
Yeah, I'll just say being present. It's so important that they know that they can be seen and heard and that they are important. Being available, right? I know as men, like we want to fix things. I've also
Mm.
learned from her that sometimes they don't want you to necessarily fix them. They just want to know, do I have a soft place to land? Is it safe for
Yeah.
me to cry and show these emotions? Sometimes I would even ask the question, I know you're upset right now. Can I sit with you and wait for the answer? Right? Sometimes the answer is, no, I'm really upset. I want to be by myself right now. Now, in my heart, I'm like, man, I want to be here and help, but it's like she asks for that space. So you're also helping her to develop boundaries. You know, if she doesn't want somebody in her space, then she has that right to be alone. And
Yeah.
I'm demonstrating that, okay, I'm going to listen to that and respect that. So guess what? I'm setting that pattern and condition that when some other little knucklehead comes along, he's going to have to do the same thing because that's what I
Right.
modeled. Right.
Yeah.
So just being present, man. You mentioned the daddy daughter dance. I remember the first one I took my daughter to, we were about to make a left turn. It was like December, so it was cold outside. And she rolled the window down. I almost messed up this moment because I wanted to be like, if you don't roll that window back up, what's wrong with you? Right? Cold. So I kind of waited because I'm like, okay, she doesn't normally do that. So she rolled the window down. It went all the way down. She said, this is the best night of my life. And I was like, we hadn't even gotten to the dance yet. You know what I mean? She was
Right.
so happy to be, going to the event with her father, with me, and I knew it meant something, but for the way she had expressed it, right, that wasn't prompted. Like again, I almost told her, well, hey man, close the window, you know?
Yeah.
So your video feed went out. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
That's these cameras.
Okay. All right. I know some with my kids with the video games and the bandwidth sometimes like it'll, say, hey, too many people on here, too much streaming and so um But yeah, I mean that was just a special moment where I felt proud that she would share that expression with me, and we had, as tired as I was, we had a blast. I still got some old videos somewhere on Facebook or something like that, but it was a great time for myself, and again, just not taking life so seriously, and just letting your hair down, my hair down, and
Right.
you also get to see kind of how they interact with other people in a social setting as well, and so those are things that you can kind of help fine tune, or even acknowledge and say, hey man, I noticed such and such. I'm really proud of how you carried yourself, or how you talk to this person, or you make everybody feel welcome, and just another observation that you can help to just give affirmations for. So I
Yeah.
believe it's very, very important.
Yeah, yeah, and they never stop needing that, even as they get older. I think it's probably a little bit more as they get older,
Yeah.
that they need that encouragement, right? So
Mhm.
we're gonna jump right into the next segment of the podcast, which is called the Getting to the Core segment,
Yes.
and it's based off of the Core Four ebook that I wrote, the Core Four, which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. To my audience, you can get your copy of the Core Four at ebooks.ejames.com. Again, that's ebooks.ejames.com. And that's the Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And so, Darius, I just want to talk real quick about the four values. So, the core four values is guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. And so you, as a father, definitely I know all four of the values is important.
Mhm.
But to you personally, as a father, which one do you feel is more important to you to instill in your daughter?
Affirmations, absolutely, because the again, as I've been in therapy myself, like I'm still contending with the words of my parents, whether good or bad, you
Yeah.
know, those will live on well beyond, their years. And I understand the importance of, the wars and the battles that they're going to fight. They're going to need to hear my voice in their head, you know, um, encouraging them and telling them that they're enough, they're loved, they're safe, they're creative, they belong, they take up space, all those things, until those voices become like their own voices, and they take on their own sense of empowerment. So I would definitely have to say the affirmations.
Yeah, yeah. And even I was listening to you earlier as you were talking, even the same thing like you were saying, for protection. In the book I talk about changing the word protection
So,
to safety,
yes,
and you spoke about, being able to, express themselves, or your daughter being able to express herself, how she feel, how she wants to show up in the
right,
world, and having that voice. And I think that's very important, as well as, like you mentioned, the affirmations, being confident in who you are and knowing who you are because your dad told you who you are. You know what I
yes,
mean? Because a lot of times they don't know it, or they don't recognize it in themselves. And
right,
so as the fathers, we have to be the one to point it out to them, like, hey, this is you. You're a part of me, and there's greatness inside of you. And so we have to do that part and instill in that.
right.
So last question. We talked about the core four values, right?
Mhm.
So if there could be a fifth value that you could add, what would that fifth value be?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about just presence, just having a presence. You know, them knowing that you are accessible, even if they're not wanting you to come and fix anything.
Mhm.
The fact of knowing that you're available, the fact of knowing that you are accessible, like gives them a sense of safety, even in your physical absence. They know that, oh, my father is reliable, or he's going to be there, or I know if I did need something, I'm not here by myself,
Mhm.
right? And that goes a very long way, because they are going to come into their own, empowerment. I don't like the word independence because
Yeah.
to me, there's other stuff attached to it. And especially as I'm going to keep bringing up therapy and the things that I've recognized, even within myself, when you have insecurities and unresolved anger or hurt or mistreatment, sometimes you overcompensate by saying, well, I'm going to be, independent, or you really end up manipulating and trying to control things. And it really speaks to not knowing your self-identity or having a sense of love. And so I told my daughter I call them the three E's, right? Being empowered, you take up space, you're important, you're loved, you're allowed to show confidence, expression, being able to say what it is you want, be able to say how you feel, and say what it is that you want to do, right? And then empathy, right? Because it's not all about you, right? Like, you're here to also serve a purpose and to be a gift unto the world. So it's not just about what you can get from everybody else, but
Right.
to be a blessing as well. And she's developing all those different things. And so when I do start to see a little bit of when she may try to, Dad, I said, listen, I want you to feel comfortable asking for what you want. Right. And I said, listen, I got things to do. Your mother has things to do. We may not be able to do all those things right now, but maybe it's something we either have to revisit to say not yet, or, hey, let's figure out how we can do that together, versus you trying to twist here. And you don't have to do that. Nope.
Right.
You don't have to do that. I love you enough I'll do anything and everything I can for you, but also in a balanced way, right? Like, if
Right.
you don't have your license, I can't give you keys to drive a car. That would be bad parenting, right? So you're not going to get everything, but also teaching you boundaries, progression, discipline, and timeliness of things, because you're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
do the same thing, right? And everything is a process. So
All right, I love it. I love it, man. Hey, Darius, thank you so much for being on. I want you to leave us with, well, us and our fathers. I want you to leave us or our fathers with a word of advice, or just something that they can take with them from this podcast, right? So I know we have fathers that's listening. We also have some daughters too, that listen to the podcast. And I always ask that our fathers that's on here always leave us with something that, to one of those other dads, the other girl dads, to leave us with something that we can take with us from the podcast. So I definitely want you to leave us with a word of motivation, inspiration, however you feel, and to give us your social media handles and things of that
yeah,
nature, so that we can follow you, and also definitely be able to get in contact with you, to be able to work with you, because as fathers, you talked a lot about therapy yourself, and
yeah,
as a father, we need it. We
yes,
go through a
yes,
lot of things that we not so quick to express. And so I definitely want you to leave your information so that our fathers can work with you. And I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys for staying on this long with the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure that you guys are checking us out on all of our websites. Our main website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org website. You can find out more about me as a speaker, as a podcaster, as an author, and everything that I have got going on with the Deal, Heal, Fulfill organization, which I created because my mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose, which is the main goal of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, is to help you to do that. But if you go to dealhealfulfill.org, that is our main website, you can find out more about me and more about things that I have going on. Also, you guys can check out Deal to Heal Tees, which is our inspirational t-shirt line. That's Deal, the number 2, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go there to check out our inspirational tees, as well as our podcast merch, right? So we have our own podcast t-shirts with our podcast logos on it. That is also there at Deal to Heal Tees. So make sure you guys go check that out. And last but not least, make sure you guys, without a doubt, go to ebooks by ejames.com so that you can get your copy of the Core 4, which is the Core 4 values that every daughter should get from her father. That's right. That's right. So that's the ebooks by ejames.com, where you get that ebook as well as check out the other ebooks that we have available there. I also have an ebook there called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring book for young boys. So I didn't forget about our sons. So make sure you guys go to ebooks by ejames.com in order to check that out. Also, make sure that you guys subscribe to our text line by texting the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text messages about new episodes, book releases, event information, and things like that. So you guys can stay in contact with us by texting, joining our text line. Again, that's 866-326-0730. Just text the word subscribe and you will be enrolled in our text information. Also, one of the things that I'm really blessed, happy to be blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, who is it for, what does it mean to forgive. And we also address specific issues like forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, and everything forgiveness. And I think is a very important topic. So whenever you guys are listening to this podcast, make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com in order to see in order to register for the next forgiveness workshop. Again, it is free, it is virtual, so you can take it on your laptop, on your phone. You can go to forgivenessmission.com to register, or just go to Eventbrite and look up forgiveness workshop held by forgivenessmission.com, and you guys can find us there. So whenever you're listening to this, either one just passed or one is coming up. So go to forgivenessmission.com or go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop in order to register and be a part of that. I promise you, you will not regret it. Last but not least, I told you guys that I would tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. You can win $100 from the podcast by joining our super subscriber contest. What does that mean? You must first subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our podcast on Spotify. Then after you've done those three things, you text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100 from the podcast. The contest is random and it's ongoing, which means that anytime you could win, right? Once you're in, you're always in, you can always win. So make sure you guys, again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify, and then text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100 from the podcast. Darius, once again, I want to say thank you so very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your love and expertise in the field of being a great girl dad, great father. I want you to have the last word, and so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So once again, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Got to do it again. As a last word, I would say I would echo what I said earlier about being present. Mm-hmm. And one of the other things that I would say is listen first. Listen first before you want to try to explain. I think with boys, I feel like I could kind of talk more to them, directly to them. But I feel like for my daughter, she needs to be seen and heard first before she can receive what it is that I'm saying. And lastly, I would say you want to model what you want her to see, to be, and pursue. So if you notice something is off, look in the mirror, because you're the one, especially how you're treating your wife. Mm-hmm. It's teaching, without words, the actions are conditioning and modeling what is almost you're saying, this is how it's supposed to be done. So keep that in mind.
Right.
Keep that in mind. Those are my last words.
All right. Thank you so much, Darius, for being here. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where our mission is to elevate the voices of girl dads and our daughters throughout the world, right? So thank you guys for listening. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else that the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.